Travel Research Online is pleased to be bringing you this presentation today, Secrets of Selling to the Affluent Traveler. Your presenter today is Dan Chappelle, the Wealthy Travel Agent. Dan is a thought leader in the luxury sector of the travel industry, and his teachings are based on developing the mental mindset and the skill sets needed to transform yourself into a successful luxury salesperson. One of his students has been quoted as saying, Dan Chappelle's quoting style is a game changer, and he inspires you to think with a fresh mindset. Dan is also the author of the Amazon bestseller, Get Your Ship Together, The Wealthy Travel Agent Guide to Sales. And so you are in good hands today. There is no one else you want to hear this information from than Dan, Secrets of Selling to the Affluent Traveler. Dan, welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate it. And thank everyone for joining us today. Someone actually called it right. This slide that we have up there right now is the inside of one of the ballrooms at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas, where I gave this presentation a couple of years ago. So it's obviously it's a packed house, and we have a packed house today, which is fantastic. Today I want to talk to you about and share some things with you about how to attract luxury clients. We're going to talk about the opportunity. We're going to talk about some strategies, and we're going to talk about ways that you can take this and take it to the next level to help grow sections of your business. So today we're going to start off by, I want to ask you a couple of questions, just rhetorical questions. I want you to think about these mentally in your mind and just see how you feel with it. So the first one is, are you tired of selling mass and premium market products where you're typically only making a couple $100, maybe $300-400 per transaction, and that's before your commission split? You know, when doesn't matter what you're selling, most of you are selling through a host agency. You've got to split your commission. So not only do you have on mass and premium market products, typically it's a lower commission level, but you're getting a fraction of that as well. I know some get as low as 30%. I've seen as high as 100%. Most average around probably about 70% is the commission split. So that's pretty significant right there. And you definitely get your money's worth through your host agency for what you do, but what you put in your pocket at the end of the day could be a lot more if you're selling a product that actually has commas in the commissions that come through there. So when you hear others bragging about their world cruise that they sold, or their luxury European vacation or African safari, or you know, any number of different type of vacation products, I want you to think, how does that make you feel? You know, how does that make you feel? I know when I was in the business before I really got into selling the luxury part of it, I was jealous. I was extremely jealous of people who not only sold luxury travel, but could do it regularly. And it was one of those things that, you know, it's something I wanted to do, and I'm sure that's how many of you aspire to sell luxury products, because you know, obviously the commissions are better. You make a lot more money that way. So do you often ask yourself, why not me? You know, why can't I do that? I know I ask this question of myself. Why not me? Well, I'm going to turn it back around to you. Why not you? Okay, there is no reason why you can't sell a luxury product or luxury products and sell them on a regular basis. I've heard all of the excuses over the years. Here's one that I don't have those kind of clients. Well, I don't know what those kind of clients really are, because I think everyone has those kind of clients. My clients only want the cheapest price. Well, time after time, studies have shown that what they really want is the best value, not necessarily the cheapest price. And I don't live in an area with wealthy people. Well, everyone has people who travel affluently, people who travel in luxury product lines or in suites on some of these mass and premium market products that could qualify as a luxury product sale. You do have them. They may own the used car dealership down the road, or the welding shop, or the mechanic or auto body shop down the road. But believe me, you have people in your area that can afford to take these luxury trips, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Heard them all. So look, if I can do it, so can you. I started in this business really. I was working on cruise ships. I saw an opportunity. I moved to Austin, Texas. I didn't know anybody. Didn't know how to run a travel agency, didn't know how to sell travel, didn't know how to do anything, but I figured it out. Started with nothing and made it happen. So, but it's not for everyone. You've got to have a certain mindset. You've got to want to do this. You got to want to develop this piece of your business, because it is a piece of the business that you can do it with. So like many of you, I started out with the passion to deliver the same high level of service that my clients expected on their vacation. I saw an opportunity when I was working on the ships. I was very fortunate. As I said, we moved to Austin, Texas, didn't know anybody, started from scratch, and built a very successful travel company. After we sold it, I was recruited by two major travel franchise companies, Cruise Holidays, which is part of the Travel Leaders Group, and Expedia Cruise Ship Centers after that. So when Expedia bought Cruise Ship Centers out of Vancouver, I was brought in to help start and run the US piece of the business. Then I had a tremendous opportunity that comes up, and this doesn't happen very often for somebody from the travel agency side of the business. So I had the opportunity to join WindStar Cruises as their vice president of sales. And what was so unique about that was they brought me in because of my relationship with the travel agency community. I was one of you, okay? And I've sold the luxury travel, and so I didn't just share the WindStar product. I taught people how to sell luxury travel, not just the WindStar product, but all the products that are out there. So that's really where I came in and learned what the needs are, and kind of broke it down into, there's a system that you can use to do this. So I've been in this business a long time, just like many of you. I aspired to sell luxury travel. It was something that I didn't think I could do, because I always competed on price, as many of us do. And when you compete on price, it's just really the lowest, just the race to the bottom end of the thing. So today, my goal for you is to hack away some of the fears, mysteries, and misconceptions that you may have about attracting luxury clients. It's really, a lot of this is a mental game. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Why is this not going? So if I promise, I want you to type in the yes or no into the chat box. If I promise to share great content that you can start using today, as soon as we're done, you can start using this immediately. Do I have your permission to take a few minutes before we get into the Q&A and share an opportunity for those of you who want to take your luxury business to the next level and just need some help with it? If you do, type yes into the chat box. If you don't, you're not interested in it, when we get to that stage, just go grab a cup of coffee or go to the bathroom, come back, and we'll be ready for the Q&A. Lee?
Absolutely. We've got a lot of yeses here. I'm counting about 150 yeses so far and growing. So I'm going to say that it's a yes. Yes, sure. Yes, please. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Let me see if I can use my clicker again here. My clicker's not working. All right, let's just do this. Okay, well, let's start talking about the opportunity, because this is something we have to recognize what this is and really get our head around it. The opportunity here is really and truly, it's too large to ignore. Luxury cruise inventory increased by 45% in 2016. It will double by 2021 and is expected to double again by the year 2025. You've got cruise operators that are investing billions, with a B, billions of dollars, building ships to meet this huge demand for the luxury travel market. River cruising continues to grow exponentially worldwide, not just in Europe, but in Africa, Asia, even here in the United States and North America. River cruising is growing, and it's growing in leaps and bounds. And if you haven't got on that bus, that's a great one to jump on, because it's probably still the fastest growing segment, I believe, within the travel business, that and expedition cruising. And specialty cruise and tour operators. Right now, polar regions are very, very popular. Iceland, Greenland, Antarctica, up in the Arctic Circle, Northwest Passage, things like that. They're building ships, they're doing tours, building resorts. The luxury tour operators like Mikado and Curran Downey and Insight, they've got more business than they can handle right now. So they're growing exponentially. There's a huge investment by these folks into their products, whether it's ships, hotels, resorts, tours. They're making the investment because the demand is there. But like many of you, when I was starting out, I really truly struggled to attract luxury clients. I didn't know any. I didn't come from money. I had a very home. I grew up on a hippie commune. I mean, I didn't know, but so I struggled with that, and I didn't really know what to do. But I quickly realized that in order to thrive in the business, you had to learn how to sell the luxury client, because I couldn't compete with the volume sellers. Those they're selling the cheapest price, but they have to sell one every minute kind of thing. So I knew that in order for my business to stand out, and many of you to do this, is I had to focus on a luxury product, luxury clientele, so that I can get larger commission checks with fewer transactions. So as many of you may have discovered, it's not as simple as joining a luxury host agency or consortia. Particularly those of you who are brand new and you picked a business to get into. It's a great business, and if you picked a host agency or consortia that specializes in the luxury, that's great. One of the questions I get all the time is, Dan, do I have to be part of that organization or those organizations to sell luxury travel? And the answer is absolutely not. Anybody in this business, if you're considered to be a travel professional, you can sell a luxury product. It's not limited to a select few. So today I want to share with you 3 proven strategies that if you practice them regularly, you can change the way you do business and increase your your commission revenue, and fees, because that's all part of it. It's all part of being able to sell a product that, yes, it's a higher dollar for the customer, but it's a bigger commission for you. And the more of those that you have, the more money you're going to have to earn. And I would argue to the point that actually selling luxury travel is actually easier than selling mass market. And the reason is they have realistic expectations. So strategy number 1 is make the affluent traveler or luxury travel part of your overall sales strategy. That's the key. We start there. Okay, I'm not asking you to change how you do business completely. Your mass and premium markets, that's your bread and butter. That's what pays the bills. The luxury products are gravy. That's where your profit can come from, and be able to expand your business out and do things like that. But you have to have a strategy behind that. And most people, their strategy is this: pick me, pick me, pick me, and I can get you the best deal, and I can give you this, and I can give you that. And again, it's almost like it's a race to the bottom, because you get excited and you don't have a lot of direction as far as how to handle the inquiry. So it's, pick me, I can do this, I can do that, and I can give you this best price guarantee and all that kind of good stuff, and away you go. When the reality of it is they're not looking for best price, they're looking for best value, and having a strategy behind how you answer those inquiries and do it systematically is going to help you increase your luxury sales exponentially from there. So you need to answer this question. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. Why should they buy from you? Why should anybody buy any travel product from you? Not just a luxury travel product, but any travel product. What differentiates you from the other 100,000 plus travel professionals in North America, and probably a million worldwide? Why should they buy from you? Because we all have the ability to sell the same product. So as part of your strategy, you need to really determine why they should buy something from you. Now, Dr. Thomas Stanley was a pioneer, he passed away a few years ago, was a pioneer in research on affluent people, why they buy, how to market to them, how to sell to them, and who they are. And according to Dr. Stanley, the number 1 way to attract affluent clients is to be a specialist or an expert in your chosen field. Now, I bet that sounds like a broken record for many of you. I know it is for me. I talk about it constantly, and you hear it from industry executives, and you hear it from a lot of places. But why should someone choose you? Because you're a specialist. you're an expert in the field that you choose. Now, within the travel business, we have a lot of choices, right? So here's my suggestion when it comes to specialization or expertise, and there's 3 levels that you want to focus on. The first is destination. People don't travel. They don't take a seaborne cruise. They don't necessarily take a Mikado safari. They're going to Africa, or they're going to Italy, or they're going to South America or Antarctica. And the product, which is coming later, that's really the vehicle to get them there and host them. But they're there for the destination. People come for the destination. So it makes sense to specialize in a destination and become familiar with it as much as possible. And you can take all the product webinars, you can take their online courses and stuff like that. My suggestion is, if you haven't been there, get on YouTube and study the region, study the places, and then go and immerse yourself in as best you can by investing in your professional education and taking a fam trip and experiencing it the way your guests will, so that the destinations don't really change. That's the thing. They're pretty static. You might get new builds or earthquakes, stuff like that, but for the most part, they're pretty static. What does change is the product delivery. And when you're specializing in high-end product, you've got tour groups like Insight, you've got Ritz-Carlton hotels and resorts, and you've got seaborne cruises. I mean, that's product. You want to choose a product that serves those destinations. Why is product not first? Well, the reason product isn't first is because they change the product out every now and then. So for instance, if you were to go to Alaska in the wintertime, you might be flying up there from Seattle on one of those Bombardier jets, one of the small ones, the regional jet. But if you go in the summertime when the demand is there, they'll put the 767s on there and taking lots of people. So the hardware can change out, but the destinations stay pretty static. Now, let's talk about who your customers are. We've heard a lot about millennials over the years. Millennials are who you really need to focus your efforts on, and that's going to be the future of your business. And to a certain degree, I don't disagree. But when you're focusing on selling a luxury product, these aren't your customers. Millennials, their time will come, but right now they've got kids in school, student loans, mortgages, things like that. Your target audience when you're selling luxury travel are these guys right here, the baby boomers. And the reason is they control over 50% of the discretionary money that's in the marketplace today, but they also have the time. Now, I want to put this into perspective because millennials, their time will come. There's these products that we sell, let's say, rhetorical question here. Seaborne, Talc, A&K. 20 years ago, what was the average age of their guest? Probably 60, 65, right? What is it today? Probably 60, 65. What is it going to be 20 years from now? 60, 65. So what happens is the different segments, whether it's the silent gens, the baby boomers, the millennials, the Gen Xers, or whatever, as we age, we grow up through there, and we're part of the target demographic for these luxury products because we have the money and we have the time, theoretically speaking, when you get to that age bracket. So that's why they focus on that there as well. So millennials, their time will come and they're going to be a big piece of the marketplace. But when you're focused on luxury travel in general, because you'll get some of them here and there, and there are those that specialize in it. But overall, we're talking baby boomers. That should be your target audience as we go through this. And forget stereotypes. My folks are in their late 70s, early 80s. Okay, my dad had triple bypass by the time he was 50 years old, and it's a pretty common thing for that generation, I guess. Whereas, I'm planning to climb Mount Rainier again this summer. So we're much more active. So forget the stereotypes of baby boomers. I was born in 1964, which is the final year of the boomers. So as we come up, but my mountain climbing partner is 65 years old. And a lot of times he can outpace me. So we're active people. So don't stereotype who the luxury traveler is. It isn't someone that's always in a tuxedo and an evening gown. It's active people that are out hiking and biking and traveling on their own. Strategy number 2, this is probably the most important one, is get your ship together. And that's about adopting the wealthy travel agent mindset. So back to Dr. Stanley again, who you probably know his book, The Millionaire Next Door. That was a New York Times bestseller for 20 years and has just recently been revised by his daughter. So if you're not familiar with it, I would suggest that you listen to it or go purchase it. The reason that so few people are financially independent today is that they place many negative roadblocks in their heads. Becoming wealthy is, in fact, a mind game. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. So selling to the affluent traveler. You got to get your head in the game. Mindset is key, and it's kind of a buzzword these days. You got to change your mindset and everything else. But you have to think differently than what you're thinking, the way you're approaching things right now. So the first thing we want to do before we get our ship together is let's get rid of the crap. Now, I wish I had come up with this because this is a fantastic acronym. I actually saw it on a TED Talk a few years ago, and it just totally hit home about what we do here. And it stands for criticism, rejection, you know the next one, and pressure. Okay, criticism. Okay, we have people, telling us all the time, you're not going to be able to sell luxury travel. Why? Because you don't know anybody, you don't have the contacts, you don't have this, you don't have that, you can't do it. You're going to get criticism from a lot of different places. A lot of times it's going to come from your family, friends, and usually people who are close to you. But just take it with a grain of salt and stay focused on what you want to do, so we don't let that bother us. Rejection. A lot of people have a pretty good closing ratio in this business, probably, 40%, 35, 40%, which means that 60 to 70% of the time you're actually getting rejected. People are saying no to you. So you have to learn how to deal with that and let it roll off, not take it personally. Some of you know the story about when I was in college, I sold books door to door. This is honest God truth. First day, first house slammed in my face. Talk about rejection. I had to, sat around and rethought it for a couple of days as to what I was going to do. Learn how to deal with rejection. That's key, because we're in the sales business, and somewhere along the lines, the lines between sales and marketing have gotten blurred. So we learn to deal with that. The next one, you know who they are. They've got no business in your life and in your business in general. Now, pressure, let's talk about that for a second. There's real pressure and there's perceived pressure. So real pressure to perform would be like a deadline for a deposit or a final payment, or you lose the vacation package, or insurance to be able to take advantage of pre-existing conditions. Okay, those are real, those deadlines, they're real. Okay, so you have the pressure to meet those deadlines. But what about a perceived deadline would be, what about you get an inquiry and you tell someone that you're going to get back to them within an hour or two, when the reality of it is the work that you need to do to get back to them is going to take probably 4 or 5 hours or longer, or you're so busy that you can't get to it right away, and you end up disappointing them. You're setting yourself up to fail, when realistically you just tell them up front, hey, you know what, great, thanks for your inquiry. I'll get back to you in a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, when you know that you can. Don't set yourself up to fail with perceived pressure. That's not something that you have to deal with there. So once we get rid of the crap, once we've gotten all of that out of the way, well, now we can get our ship together. It's one of my great students, Marilee Tripp from Cruise Planners. Get your ship together. Get your ship together is the title of the book, and it stands for skills, habits, inspiration, and performance. So we talk about skills. Now, I'm not talking about product knowledge, because you can get that all day, but I'm talking about sales skills. People get into this business for 2 reasons. They like to travel and they like to take care of people. Not a lot of people get into it to sell something. And in the program I'm going to share with you later on, I have a whole section on selling, but you have resources out there that you can tap into, that you can learn basic sales processes that will help walk you through dealing with not just affluence, but in travel sales in general, but relationship selling, which is the key to selling to the affluent traveler. How about social skills? You know, I mentioned I grew up on a hippie commune. We had nothing. You know, our furniture came from the Salvation Army. Our tables were empty wire spools, and we had to eat off of. We had a clay plate, a clay bowl, a clay mug, and a knife and a fork. Well, when I went to work on the cruise ships in my early 20s, uh, part of my job was to dine with the guests, dine with the passengers. And that, for those of you who've been on a cruise, you know, you get a formal setting every single night that you sat down. I didn't know what to do with it, but I learned very, very quickly. And part of what you do when you're working with affluent prospects is you're going to be going to charity events, you're going to be going to cocktail receptions, you're going to be socializing. So make sure that you've got the skills to do that. Habits, they either contribute to or sabotage your success. We all have them, good and bad. By now, I think most everyone realizes it takes more than 21 days to create a habit or change a habit. It takes really about 6 to 8 weeks. So my suggestion would be sit down, make a list of habits that you consider to be good, those that are bad, and then focus on getting rid of or changing the ones that aren't contributing to your success and promoting the ones that are. The next is I for inspiration. What motivates you? Okay, inspiration is the spark to the fire that lights up the motivation part. And basically what that is what gets you out of bed every day? Why are you doing this? What gets you motivated? What gets you out of bed to go to work every day? If you can't answer that question, I'm going to suggest that you kind of take a step back and not do anything else in your business and figure out what that is, because it may turn out that you're in the wrong business. But then again, you may reignite what got you into it in the first place and really get yourself motivated and invigorated there. Performance, knowing your numbers. So part of what I do as a business performance coach is I work with a number of travel professionals. Some are fairly new to the business, but there are others who are selling multiple millions of dollars worth of business. And the problem is they don't know really how much they've sold. They don't know how much their profit is. They don't know their cost of sale. They don't know their business numbers. And it's so important for us to get a grasp on that, know what that is, and know what your close ratio is. Like how many leads do you have to get to make a certain number of quotes, which translates into a certain number of sales, and then you can build your plan around that. But knowing your numbers is key. Okay, so that's all about getting your ship together. We got rid of the crap, we got your ship together. How about your relationship with money? How do you feel about money? We all have what I call a pucker point. And it grows over the years. As you sell higher and higher priced product, you get more comfortable with it. My personal pucker point was $100,000. And my first six-figure sale was about the same time I had bought my first house, which was for about $130,000. And I had a client that was spending $105,000 for a 3-week vacation. A vacation. Well, I was sweating bullets. That was my pucker point. I struggled with that. I was afraid to ask for the money. We all have that. It may be 10,000, maybe 20,000, 50,000, doesn't matter. We all have that. We have to work ourselves through it. And a lot of it gets back to, our perception of money. Okay. Our relationship with it. I grew up without it, and so I always aspired to have it. That was one of the things that drove me was, to be able to have a lifestyle that I could help others and, in business and in charity, and to be able to do a lot of things that I didn't have growing up. But you may have a negative relationship with it where every dollar went to pay the bills, or you didn't have any left over and the phone got cut off or something like that. So you have different perceptions of money and how you deal with it. One thing to think about is when you're talking about selling luxury travel, you may be comfortable selling something for $3,000, and the person that you're selling it to might add a zero to that 30,000. That's what their expectation is that they want to pay, and they know that that's what it is, and they're comfortable spending that. You just got to get comfortable asking for it. The problem isn't them, the problem is on us. So your relationship with money is key here. This is my all-time favorite quote. I live by this. One of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his greatest surprises, is to find that he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. You know, for me, I'm afraid of heights, but yet I'm climbing Mount Rainier again. Um, First time I went up on the high dive, you know, I was petrified. I probably took a half hour to get up onto the end of the board, but when I jumped off and saw how easy it was, wow, I could do it again. And I did it again and again and again. And you all have that. Those instances where you've broken through things that you're afraid of and found out how easy it was. When I was selling books, first door slammed in my face, I sat there and contemplated life for about 2 days. And then my manager came out and we went door to door and I saw how easy it was. And I ended up spending the summer and doing fairly well. But breaking through the things that you were afraid you couldn't do, that's a mindset thing, and that's part of dealing with affluent travelers. And so you need to have a strategy to get your head in the game and work on relationships, and relationship selling is key to growing your affluent strategies. Strategy number 3, third strategy here, is stop fishing and start leveraging your networks. What do I mean by fishing? Well, there's 2 ways that you can approach your business. It's a proactive approach, or there's a reactive approach. And fishing is a reactive approach, and that's what most of marketing is a reactive strategy. And as I said, somewhere along the lines in this business, we have come to the conclusion that selling and marketing have taken on the same meaning. In fact, they're very different. Whereas marketing is like fishing. You throw the bobber out with a worm on the end of the hook, and you wait for someone to come along and bite. And they may buy, they may spit it out and keep swimming along. Okay, but that's fishing. That's what the marketing does. And there's a key role for that in your business. But to be proactive and taking control of your business, this is where you start leveraging and building your networks to make that happen. So the Nielsen company, the same ones that do TV ratings, they do a lot of market research. The number one reason that people buy, trust in advertising formats, okay? This is across all generations, whether it's from Z to Silent Gen and everybody in between, is recommendations from people I know. Okay, that's the number one source. That's the number one trusted form of advertising. Well, if we know this, why are we spending a lot of effort, trying to drive other business in from other sources when we already have a way to do that? We need to have a systematic way of getting recommendations from the people that we know. Okay, and we're going to get to that here. So Robert Kiyosaki, who many of you have seen in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book series, said this. He said, the richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else is looking for a job. So as you're building a business and you're building your clientele, you want to build your network. And the beauty of this is it doesn't cost a lot of money to do this. It's an investment mainly of your time and breaking through some of those fear barriers that we talked about earlier. So leveraging your network, and I call this direct referral marketing, and this is a systematic way of getting referrals. Most of you have at the bottom of your tagline there that says, the best referral you can give me is, whatever it is. It's kind of it's just there, but it's not a proactive strategy of going out to do that. I've been sharing this for a number of years, but this is based on the teachings of Mark Granovetter, who was a Stanford University sociologist. One of the groundbreaking studies of the 20th century is called The Strength of Weak Ties, and it's been quoted by Malcolm Gladwell and Charles Duhigg and another number of high-profile authors and business strategists that are out there. We've all had people close to us. When they find out you're in the travel business, they want you to help them plan their vacation. They come, they milk you for all this information, and you spend a lot of time and effort on them, and then you don't hear from them. Now, if that hasn't happened to you yet, just be patient, because it will. It will. It's happened to all of us. And then you find out later that they booked it with the travel agency down the street or somebody that they found online, or even worse, they booked it direct. Okay. Well, the reason they do this primarily is because they're close to you and they don't want to do business with you because they don't want to jeopardize the relationship that they have with you. So they're more comfortable dealing with people that they barely know. So if we know that, from a networking standpoint, we need to grow that, it makes sense to have a systematic process. So, and part of that is, when you're talking about the people who are close to you, if you've ever sold Amway or had somebody who's selling Amway or any other network marketing thing come to you, you throw up the sign of the cross. They're trying to sell you something. If you ask the people, instead of to buy something from you, if you ask them for help, who do they know that would benefit from your services as a river cruise specialist, let's say? Okay, so instead of just going out and asking for referrals, you're asking for very specific referrals. You're asking for referrals for the destination. You're asking for referrals based on the product that you specialize in. You're asking for referrals for someone who fits into that demographic of what you're looking for. You're not just looking for any Tom, Dick, or Harry who wants to go to Cancun. Okay, you're looking for very specific, and so that's what you're asking for. And the program I'm going to share with you, I show you how to do that with scripts and everything else. But the reality of it is, the people who are close to you are going to only account for about 10 to 15% of your prospects, whereas those at the second and third level, the people you may have met them once or twice, but you don't really know them, those are the people who can account for 65 to 70% of your prospects. So it makes sense to have that systematic process to reach them. So stop trying to sell the people close to you and start trying to get to the people who will actually buy from you. And that's a huge piece of how this whole business works, about relationship marketing and relationship selling. It's building off of the ties that you already have, and everybody has a network in place, whether you just know one person or 20 or 50, you have the basics of a network that you can start leveraging there. So in my opinion, the next 10 to 15 years are going to be unlike any that we've ever experienced in the travel industry. It's just mind-boggling, the opportunity that's out there. The investment in the hardware and in the resorts and everything else. But the problem is, we as an industry have a huge problem that we are facing. Now, according to Travel Weekly and their industry survey, agency focus on luxury sales for all agencies in general is down 5%. Down 5%. I talked about, all the investment in the tonnage, investment in everything else, but yet the agency focus is down. And for agencies that are 10 million or more, which is the bulk of the ones that sell this type of product, they're down almost 10%. Down almost 10%. The opportunity is there. The opportunity is there. If demand is so high, what gives? They're going to fill their ships, they're going to fill their resorts, they're going to fill their hotels, whether we sell it or not, as travel professionals. So what gives? Well, the answer is simple. There is a tremendous shortage of qualified travel advisors to serve the demand. Now, let me qualify qualified. Qualified doesn't mean product knowledge. That's easy to get. It's the other things that we've discussed earlier about having the mindset and developing the relationships and the relationship sales processes that are going to help you build that clientele, which are going to fill these products. Very simple, but yet not a lot of people can do it. Okay. We started today talking about opportunity. If somebody offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, just say yes and then learn how to do it later. I didn't know how to run a travel agency. I didn't know how to sell travel. I didn't know anything about travel, really, other than I was working on a ship. I saw an opportunity and I jumped in with both feet and I learned how to do it and built a business from scratch. You can do that too. See the opportunity. Now I want you to imagine this. That bus is at the station, it's leaving now. What happens if you don't get on it? Imagine what the consequences would be if you just don't do anything and just go status quo. I mean, you're not on this program today because you're knocking it out of the park. Some of you might be. You're on this call today because you want to learn and you want to grow that piece of the business. Okay. Imagine if you the information that we shared with you today if you don't do anything with it. Okay, so my promise to you is this: if you're willing to invest the time and the effort to educate yourself and do whatever it takes, you can succeed in attracting high value clients. Perry Lungmas, who's the vice president of luxury travel and a lot more other things at the Travel Leaders Group, said this: everyone needs an experienced guide to successfully bring their business to the next level. And in the travel business, he thinks I'm the real deal. So before we get to the Q&A, I promise to share with you a program for those of you who truly desire to capitalize on this opportunity. It's out there. If you're not interested, take a break, go to the bathroom, grab a cup of coffee, come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll be ready for the Q&A. But for the rest of you, stay on board, because we're going to talk about some things that are really going to help you propel your luxury travel sales through the roof here. But it's not for you if you're looking for something for nothing. Simple as that. If you want something for nothing, if you're not willing to work for it, then this probably isn't best for you. Or you're looking for a get rich quick. Okay, you're not going to turn your business on a dime and all of a sudden be floating in commissions with commas, the checks coming in through the mail or through your bank account. It doesn't happen overnight. What you will see are larger commission checks coming in than what you had before, but it's a process and it takes time to build up the relationships to get you to where you are. And if you're not willing to work your butt off and do some of the things that might be uncomfortable for you, like leveraging your networks, probably not for you, because that's how you're going to grow it. And lastly, if you're down to your last few dollars, you need to pay the rent or you need to put dinner on the table, probably not a good time for you to get involved with this, because it does take a commitment of time, effort, and yes, you have to invest in your business and your professional education to do this, just like you did when you first started out. It's important that you commit and put that effort into building that segment of your business. But if you are committed to growing a large segment of your business to the luxury market, or you're a newer advisor who you don't want to make all the mistakes. Mistakes are costly when you're doing this. So you want to make sure you invest your money in the right places and go through learn the right processes and things like that, so that you don't have to relearn it later on. This is a big one here. I think everyone needs to be willing to commit at least 3 years to a proactive strategy where you really take control of your business. As I said, this doesn't happen overnight. Relationship selling and relationship marketing takes time to develop. And it's, if you think of where you want to be in 3 years, odds are pretty good, you're going to be sitting pretty from where you are today. But if you love spending time helping others and you want to spend more time doing that and less time doing marketing or operations, stuff like that, this is for you. Okay, because this is something that I think will really benefit you. Now, a lot of folks, and I've gotten comment cards from this in seminars I've done and other things, but a lot of people assume that I came from money, and that they can't do it because they're not like me, because I came from money and he's got this built-in clientele. No, that's not how I did this. I started with absolutely nothing and I worked my tail off. The supplier reps even took bets to see how long we would survive in the business. I mean, that's how it was. But over the years, as I've grown my business and become more involved on the supplier side and in the franchise side, I've seen thousands of advisors, thousands struggling to break into luxury sales without success. They aspire to be a part of it, but they just don't have a lot of success. And the reason I see for a lot of this is many of them are guided by people who have little or no experience in the luxury market. There's people who think that this is how it should be done and that kind of thing. But yet these advisors, they follow their advice blindly. And I just don't want that to be you. I don't want you to necessarily go down the wrong path or do things the way someone thinks they should be done. I want you to follow a proven system on how to do it. So after and I should have put this in quotes, retired from WinStar, because I really left to do what I'm doing now. I'm very passionate about helping others become successful in this business. I created Secrets of Selling to the Affluent Traveler using all the knowledge and experience that I gained over the years to provide a clear path, but more importantly, take the fear and the mystery out of selling luxury travel. So here's what you get. It's a program called Secrets of Selling to the Affluent Traveler. There's 8 modules, over 40 video lessons. They're all recorded live by me. The retail price is $1,982. You get downloadable PDF slides that come with that. If you're like me, I like to listen to books on tape and podcasts while I'm hiking and in the car. So we have downloadable MP3 audio files for you as well. There's a workbook that comes with this. Now, this is different from a lot of programs that you've probably seen where you check, it's multiple choice, you check this, check that. Now, this program is, these are essay questions, and each module builds on the other, and you'll take and it's very personal because the answers that you put into the questions that are asked in the workbook are actually going to be put into your complete action plan. So it's going to be the roadmap that you're going to refer to for that clear path to get you into selling luxury travel. You'll have the direct referral marketing is a key component of this. So there's worksheets in there that help walk you through the process and help you identify the people who will be able to help you the most. Unlimited email access to me. I say it's for 12 weeks of the program, but the reality of it is I'll answer at any time. I had one of my very first clients who purchased the program 4 years ago when I first started this, and it's been revised since then, and I continue to do that. But I just worked with her about 3 weeks ago on some stuff. So I'm always here to help. Now, one of the beauties of this is at the end of each module. So a module is released every week. Now, this is going through next week, and then the next day, everyone gets access to it at the same time. So we all start at the same time, and then each week, as the modules are released, I'll do a live Q&A coaching class. Okay, just a classroom style where you can call in and ask questions or email them to me, and we go from there. And then, of course, there's a Facebook group that goes with it as well. So total value of the package is over $77.05. One of my students with Cruise Planners says it was a great investment for her business. It's already paying dividends. She signed up for the personal coaching program, which she did, and let me tell you, she's done extremely well breaking up into the luxury travel segment. So here's what you can expect. One, you're going to focus on achieving realistic outcomes, specifically execution of systems and processes to get attainable results, not pie in the sky stuff, but real, true, attainable results. That's what you want to focus on. There's not a lot of promises that are out there that, this is going to be the end all for you. You've got to work at it and you got to build it up going through the program. It's based on firsthand experience, not cute ideas, not theories, not things I read in the book. Now, the beauty of this is I've done all this myself, but in my other roles, I've also been able to get best practices from other people who have been very successful selling luxury travel and have incorporated this into the program as well. And then we keep a realistic perspective of things. As part of the program, part of the plan you build, you're held accountable throughout the program. I teach you how to sell travel. That's the key. I teach you how to sell it, relationship selling. You need to be prepared to work hard. This isn't just something that you just jump into and say, hey, I want to do this and hang out your shingle and away you go. No, you got to work hard to do it. And because we teach selling, it's going to probably be a little contrary to some things that you might have done in the past. But yes, these are the three outcomes that you can really hang your hat on there. So in partnership with Travel Research Online and the No Limits program, we're offering the program to you for one-time investment, 50% off, $991. Or if you want to break it up into 3 payments, you can do $363.63. Enrollment ends next Thursday on the May 23rd, and the first module will be released to everyone on May the 24th. That way, at least for the first couple of weeks, we're all on the same schedule. It's on your own pace, so if you don't keep up, that's great. You do it whenever you want to, but I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be on the same schedule so that we're on the same page when we do the classroom style stuff. You can try it risk-free for 30 days, 100% money back guarantee. This is proprietary information though. So in order to for the guarantee, you just have to submit that you've done the exercises and you've actually completed the modules that have been released up to that point, and then we'll talk about that and the refund policy that we have through there. But 100% money back guarantee on that. As a special bonus, many of you are members of now or are familiar with the Power Players Club. It is a members-only program that has other courses, master classes, templates, marketing and sales plan templates, business plan templates, a number of other things in there, resources for you. It's a monthly membership, and as part of the program, you'll receive a 60-day complimentary membership. And as a special bonus, for those of you who don't already have one, or if you already do, I'll mail you a personalized copy of my best-selling book, Get Your Ship Together, to US and Canada. For those of you in the UK, Australia, New Zealand who are on the call, if you just pay the shipping, that'll come for you as well. Another one of my students said that I'm a great coach because of my undeniable industry knowledge, but more importantly here is the practical approach to building the affluent clientele. It's a step-by-step process, but the key thing here is all you have to do is get out there and do it yourself. You have to make it happen. And as a super special bonus, you can receive a free private consultation. So once you've completed the program, then you and I can sit down one-on-one and talk about the best way for you to implement your plan. I have folks that pay me almost $500 a month for private coaching. So the value of this by itself is over 50% of the value of the program. So you'll receive Selling to the Fluent Traveler on the online course, your own personalized copy of my best-selling book, complimentary membership to the Players Club, and free private business consultation with me, all for just $991. So the Players Club membership, you can opt out at any time, but otherwise after 60 days, it'll automatically charge a reduced fee of $39 as a purchaser of the program here. But you can opt out prior to that, no problem at all. Okay, how do you do it? Well, you just go to danchappelle.com. DANCHAPPELLE.com, and click on the button there. It says enroll now. That'll take you to this page. You just pick the payment plan that you want, either pay in full or pay the other. It'll also have a complete description of what is released week after week as you go through there. And then if you want to add the Power Players Club, if you're not already a member, just click yes and then complete your purchase, and away you go, and you're good to go. Here's the thing, talk about ROI. This is one of my other students here. She earned her entire tuition back and then some from the first sale. Remember, the program costs less than $1,000 if you pay in full. You can expect to receive commission checks that have commas in them. That is the beauty of this. You get your ROI back, which is your return on investment with the first sale. Everything else is gravy from there for you. So with that, again, go to danchappelle.com, click on enroll, and we're good to go. Lee, let's open it up for questions. Let's see what people got.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dan. So questions here. Let's see. This one says, I specialize in cruise for the majority of my business. So now, how do I narrow down to choose which luxury lines I should choose?
Well, that's actually a personal choice, and I like that. You've realized that just specializing in cruise really isn't the best option because there's so many different segments of it. So for me, I would look at, okay, what do I have experience with firsthand? What products do I like? Because you got to like what you sell. You got to believe in it and stand behind it. So I would look at the whole package. Who's paying you the most? Where are you getting the most support from? Who's got the best, the reputation, the lifestyle. If you've got a clientele that's more active, well, there's some luxury cruise lines that are going to be more conducive to that than others are. And so, there's not an easy answer to this, but it's up to you. It's where do you think the demand is going to be? I know I would, if it was me, I'm probably looking at Seabourn and Regent, Penant, Hurtigruten, kind of narrow. Windstar in particular is a good choice, and not just because I used to work for them, but there's you narrow that down based on what you want to do. I had an experience not long ago, back in January, where I went on a fam trip on Paul Gauguin. Let me tell you, I'm a believer. I'm a huge fan of Paul Gauguin. So as a salesperson, that would be one of the products I specialize in. But I also look at what the demand is, because the same number of people visit Tahiti in a year that visit Honolulu in a week. So look at where that opportunity is. I hope that answers it, gives you some clarity. There's not an easy answer to that one. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Dan. So you mentioned that you think the industry is changing, and the question came in and said, other than technology, how do you think the industry will change in the next 10 to 15 years?
Well, it's not so much that the industry's changing, it's more the opportunity that's there because the population bubbles that are coming up. So the baby boomers were a huge bubble. Okay. But we forget about the Gen Xers. My sister is part of that generation. They're not a deep one, but they're very wide. So there's a lot of people coming up through that are going to be into the marketplace there. Technology, here's the thing about technology and everything else. They're tools to help you sell. This is a contact sport. I always say that selling is a contact sport because you're building relationships with people. And that's something that technology can help you automate some of the things like emails and stuff like that. But the fact is you still need to have a conversation with someone. So particularly in the upscale area, luxury products, it is more of a one-on-one relationship building thing, and just use the technology as the tools. But the opportunity more than anything else is where my focus is there's more people that are in the segment now that the luxury products, cruise lines, tour companies, everything, they target. As I said, 20 years ago, 50 to 60, 65. Now 60, 65. 20 years from now, it's going to be 60, 65. So we have a huge bubble in the population that qualifies for the vast majority of the luxury products. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you. I'm going to combine a few questions here. The gist of it is, where do you find luxury? Where do you find your clients who are affluent? There was one person here who asked about whether local trade shows is a good idea. Another one wondering how to network. So imagine that's part of your course. But
well, it is, and I go into great detail on how to do that. But how do you do it? Well, start with the people you know. Okay, you don't have to go out and start cold with networking events or trade shows or things like that. Those I don't think those are necessarily a good investment of your time. You'll get something out of it, but really look at the people who are around you. Okay, just make a list of who they all are. Okay, and some of them may qualify, some of them may not for what you're trying to sell, but then you go to them and ask specifically, and there's scripts and program stuff about how to do this, but you ask specifically who they know who could benefit from their role as a luxury cruise specialist or a safari specialist or whatever. Everybody knows somebody, and you're asking the people close to you for help. Basically, you're asking them for an introduction. And when you're getting an introduction from somebody that you know mutually, it gives you credibility. Okay, so that's how I would do it. Everybody, and I don't care, if as I said, I grew up on a hippie commune, but I tell you, our family knew doctors, lawyers. I had relatives who had done well in the lightning rod business of all things. So we all, when you sit down and you really think about it, you have the basics or the basis of a network that you can start leveraging already. You just got to do the work and dig in and figure out who they are, and then ask for help to get to the qualified people that you're looking for. I hope does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. So one last question for you, and then I think we can wrap it up. So we have an agent listening who she's not a Virtuoso agent. She recognizes that Virtuoso has a lot of nice perks and amenities that they can offer, and so she's wondering how she can be competitive in that space, how she can find ways to give perks and gifts and things like that to build her business.
Well, it starts at the consortia level because that's exactly what Virtuoso is, a consortia, and they have negotiated those perks, those benefits. So number one, start there with your current host agency or consortia and see what they have to offer. Because a lot of times, particularly Signature Ensemble, American Express, some of those, they have similar perks that they can offer. Where Virtuoso really specializes in is really in the hotel side of it, and I mean they do a phenomenal job. Their focus is luxury, as is signature, and ensemble to a certain extent. So you've got everyone out there that they know what the game is. And so they all have different perks at different levels. You just need to dig in and find out what those are. Some you may want to offer yourself. Like for instance, if someone spent a certain amount of money with me, I might have provided them with black car transfers because I could do it for $100, but I never spent, half my commission doing that, or, even 10% of my commission on them doing that. It's a small fraction of it. You shouldn't have to go in. I'm not a big believer in giving gifts. That's a whole different conversation, but value-add amenities that you can provide to your clients out of your own pocket, it can really help there as well. I wouldn't do wine or that kind of thing, because that everybody does that. But think of things that are individual. Combine those with what your consortia has, and then look at credit card companies. I'm an American Express Platinum card holder. I go on a cruise. I get a $300 shipboard credit. I get strawberries in the room, and I get to take 2 bathrobes home with me every single cruise I go on. Same hotels. There's a hotel program as well. So look at what you have and what you can combine, and you can kind of create your own programs there. I mean, it's really cool, the stuff that's out there that you can work with. Virtuoso specializes in luxury. That's their focus. That's what they've done from day one. My agency, we joined Virtuoso. We were members of it for almost 4 years, I guess it was, and we chose to leave the organization. It's a phenomenal organization, but so is Signature, so is Ensemble, so is American Express, so is Travel Savers. There's a lot of really good organizations out there. You just got to dig deep, and quite frankly, if they don't have what you need, ask them. And if they're not willing to provide it, well, maybe that's not the right host or the right consortia for you. If that's the direction you're taking your business, I think, let me just boil this down to a nutshell. It's your business. It's not theirs. So you do what's in the best interest of what your business is and how to grow it, not what everybody else says you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good advice. Good advice. Okay, Dan, I'm going to stop there. I will collect up all the rest of these questions and send them over to you in the final report. But let me turn it back to you now for closing comments.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Lee. This is a program, I only offer this twice a year. It's not even listed on my website normally. It's typically only wait list only coming into it that we collect throughout the year. And that's why we treat it more like a class than just an online program that you buy. That's why it's more structured and how it's released, each module and things like that. So if you are considering getting into the luxury business, remember, it only takes one sale to get your money back for it. It's a great investment for your business, and it won't be offered again until probably December of next year, or December of this year. So this is a great opportunity. If you love it, go for it. This is my bread and butter. This is what I'm good at, is selling to affluent travelers, and that's why I created the program for it, to help others out. And lastly, just thank you so much for joining us today. You can go to danchappelle.com, learn more about this program and others. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my thanks as well. And many of you have asked about the replay. We will put it up on our website at travelresearchonline.com in our webinar section. And with that, I will say good day and conclude the webinar. Thanks again, everyone. We really appreciate having you here with us today. And Dan, thanks to you.
Thank you all. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.